Hello, everyone. My name is Stuart Shaline. I'm the Director of Platform Services and Software Architecture at WealthCounsel, LLC. I'll be sharing our experience as we adopted MarkLogic for our platform to deliver complex legal documents to estate planning attorneys across the United States. First, though, I'd like to tell you a little bit about WealthCounsel. We were founded in 1997 when a group of 9 estate planning attorneys got together and formed a company called the Jackson Group. 3 years later, they released their first software product. Their goal was to change the way lawyers work, to give them the tools they would need to be successful. We're headquartered in Draper, Utah, and we provide document drafting solutions to lawyers who specialize in estate planning. We also support a community of estate planning attorneys who wish to collaborate with other estate planning attorneys regarding both our software as well as issues of general concern to estate planning attorneys. We also provide educational materials and thought leader content on the subject of estate planning. In 2000, as I mentioned, WealthCounsel launched its first software product called WealthDocs. It was a comprehensive automated drafting system running on Windows that was constantly updated to reflect changes in the law. This initial product targeted several advanced estate planning strategies and was unlike anything on the market at the time. But by 2013, WealthCounsel could see that the shift to cloud software would eventually affect our business as well. We could see that moving to the cloud would allow us to offer enhanced features to our customers, better support a growing number of Mac users, and enable us to integrate with other cloud-based vendors with complementary products. So we began looking at a variety of solutions that would address the challenges we were facing at the time, and that would help us accelerate our ability to deliver more features to our customers. Our first and biggest challenge was preserving our existing intellectual property, the content, the text, and surrounding logic that we had built up over more than 20 years. Our customers would expect complete fidelity between our desktop and online versions. The second challenge was to design a new application that would help us solve long-standing issues with our desktop solution. For example, we wanted our customers to be able to modify our templates and have them seamlessly updated whenever we made our own changes to the template, a feature our customers have been asking for years. We wanted them to have a much simpler way of seeing the effect of various choices on the output document, with text updating in real time. We wanted to make available to our customers analytics about the trusts and wills they create so that they could better understand trends and patterns in their documents. None of these were possible with the old solution. Other challenges arose from some unexpected places. Many of our customers assumed their offices and internal IT systems were more secure than cloud software. We needed to show them that protecting client data today is more than a strong padlock on the door and good passwords. They needed to be thinking about encryption, backup, disaster recovery, multi-factor authentication, and other measures needed to ensure security and availability. So when seen in that light, cloud solutions look much better. We also had to research which state bar associations allowed the use of cloud applications in legal practice. There were associations that had issued no guidance and associations that issued guidance that said attorneys couldn't use cloud applications in their practice. We also had to deal with liability insurance carriers, some of which refused to cover attorneys who used cloud applications. Another challenge, legal documents have to be perfect. Ambiguity brought on by errors in language or legal substance can invalidate a legal document. So the example on this slide describes some of the business rules needed just to capture the correct naming and roles of individuals, entities, and trusts in the salutation of a letter. This is only a mild example too. Some legal concepts, of course, are far more complex, but must still be not only correct from a legal standpoint, but from a language and grammar standpoint as well. Here's another example. This block of pseudocode outputs a single sentence establishing who the author of the letter is and the authority that allows them to act on behalf of a decedent. Blue text represents conditional statements. Green text represents grammar markup. Red represents data coming from the database. As you can see, the ratio of logic to language is pretty high. We also capture a lot of information in the process of creating and managing a trust or will. This includes information about grantors, beneficiaries, trustees, financial advisors, financial institutions, appraisers, assets, liabilities, tasks, events, family relationships, and so on. Yet we had never formally modeled that data, so significant duplication and subtle differences had evolved over the years. Keeping track of this rich and varied data had become a maintenance challenge. So we had an unusual set of requirements. We needed elements of a content management system, an integrated development environment, a templating language, a programming language, a document automation system, a source code control system, and many other systems common to both software and content development. Though a lot of these systems met some of our needs, some of our requirements, none of them met all of them, and none of them were close to what we wanted to achieve with this new architecture. For example, document automation tools generally use a proprietary syntax. They're expensive to license and are missing key features that we need to differentiate ourselves in the market. If our competitors are using the same document automation system, it gives us no competitive advantage. Standard markup languages like DITA, TEI, or DocBook are too general for complex legal documents in which logic plays as important a role as the text itself. Templating languages like Mustache, Handlebars, or Pug are mostly focused on rendering HTML rather than Word documents, or don't provide the expressiveness needed for complex legal documents. Content management systems do address a subset of the problem domain, but not the core challenge of managing and executing complex logic and language. So, for our solution, we settled on the following technology stack: a domain-specific markup language that we created and call the estate planning markup language, or EPML, a markup processing engine based on XQuery, JavaScript, and MarkLogic, an XML-based data model that we call the estate planning framework, or EPF. We needed to create a development tool as well so that we could author our templates and interviews. This application was built on top of Vue, CodeMirror, and again, MarkLogic. And finally, we needed a NoSQL multi-model database for form and template storage. This too was based on MarkLogic. Let me show you an example of EPML. It's pretty straightforward. As I showed before, blue indicates conditional markup, green represents grammar markup, black represents presentation markup, and red indicates variable information retrieved from the database. Some things I'd like to point out. The salutation line, although it's just a single element, does a lot of work behind the scenes. It handles each of the business rules I presented earlier on a previous slide. So given an entity such as a bank or a list of trustees or an individual, it will figure out the appropriate roles and produce a valid, grammatically correct salutation. This next element, a component element, inserts a subtemplate into the parent template. Components are similar to a topic in DITA and consist of additional code and text. Components are used when we want to reuse identical logic and content across two or more templates. The contact date of death element retrieves and inserts the date of death for a contact. Note the attributes that indicate which contact to reference, as well as how to format the date. Finally, the switch statement, or switch element, is an example of markup that represents conditional logic. Note that the element emulates the XQuery switch statement. EPML contains many other logic or programming elements, including conditional statements, loops, data type conversions, quantified expressions, and so on. So I'd like to pause the presentation for a moment and give a very brief demo showing WealthCounsel's latest application, WealthTrax, which uses the technology stack I just described to produce a dynamic document that combines data from EPF and markup from EPML and passes that to the processing engine, and the end result is a Word document. So this is the new product that we launched in April of this year. We call it WealthTrax, and it's a tool that attorneys can use to administer a trust once one of the grantors has become incapacitated or passes away. There are a lot of tasks involved in the administration of a trust, and you can see some of the categories of activities here in the middle of the screen on what we call the overview page. There are tasks related to intake, engaging with the client, the initial administration of the trust, the tracking of assets owned by the trust, the ongoing administration of the trust, tax filings, and then the final administration. You can see in this particular administration, we have 3 overdue tasks in the engagement phase and 1 overdue task in the initial administration. Up in the top, you can see a dashboard that gives you an indication overall. If you're administering more than one trust, you can get a quick picture of how far you are along in the process. This toolbar here beneath the dashboard indicates some of the activities that you would typically do when administering a trust. Of course, you have to supply some of the terms of the trust, and if you are a Wealth Docs customer, you're able to import information about trust you've created into the administration tool. You can define all the parties that are involved in the administration, including the grantors, fiduciaries, beneficiaries, and so on. You can define important dates, tax filings, for example, or other due dates that are necessary when administering a trust. WealthCounsel defines, if you will, some best practices on how to go about administering a trust. You'll see up here in the dashboard that we've defined about 288 tasks that are necessary to successfully administer a trust. That seems like a lot, and it is, but we help you keep track of all of those. You can see here in each of those 7 categories that I showed you previously, intake, engagement, initial administration, and so on, there are a number of tasks associated with each one. For example, when contacting the client for the first time, there are documents that will help you engage with them and ask the right questions. There are steps that you should take in preparation for the initial engagement meeting, and so on. Most of these tasks have documents associated with them, and you can see here, you can simply click through the task and see the documents related to that task. Of course, administration of trust involves the assets of the trust, and we provide the ability to record those assets, their values, and a variety of information about them. We support 16 different asset types, from personal property and real property to cash accounts and oil, gas, and mineral interests. A number of asset types can all be tracked through the system. Also, the liabilities associated with certain assets can be tracked here. They're ongoing, both the value of the asset and the amount of liability against the asset. We help you maintain a ledger for all those assets and liabilities, so you have a clear picture of the value of the assets, which have been allocated, which have been distributed, and so on. There are a number of reports that we provide. For example, all these reports, by the way, are built using EPML. And you can see here in this administration a variety of assets, their ownership, how they're going to be distributed in the end, and their current, the value as of the date of death of the decedent, as well as any alternate valuation date that you may be interested in. So you can see they're quite detailed. And then this is the heart of the new architecture with respect to EPML and EPF. These are the documents that you can create that are based on EPML. We have about 150 currently, and we continue to add new documents from time to time. So if I wanted to create a letter to send to the bank for the bank to liquidate an asset, I can come in here, I can find one if I've already created it, or I can create a new one. You'll see here that this is a letter that's going to go out to Wells Fargo, and it's going to ask them to distribute assets on behalf of the named beneficiaries, in this case, to Paul Smith. You can come in here and you can click on the blue indicates values that have already been answered. We already have something in the database for them. Red indicates missing information, or information that won't show up in the output letter if you don't provide a value. So I can click on any of those and change them. If I want to change the date here to the 12th, I can just click on it, save it, and the template will be reflected. The new value will be reflected in the template. You'll see that there's some unanswered items here. If I can click on those and say, I'll give 45 days for a response. And again, the language changes, and you can see that it's formatted, even though I type 45, the number at output, 45 a string. This is just what we call a preview or working document view. It's not a perfect representation of the output document. But if I want to see that, at any time, I can just download the document. And it will open up in Word. And you'll be able to see all the information that was there in Word format. If data is missing, we indicate that so that they can pick it up and make sure that before they send out the correspondence, it has all the information that it needs. So that's just a quick tour of Trax and an example of how EPML and EPF and MarkLogic, this entire application, by the way, runs on top of MarkLogic. And as the database, as the processing engine. And we've been very happy with the results. It's been well received in the market, even though we had a quiet launch because of the virus. We continue to see interest in it from our customers as well as others. So, what have been the results of our journey so far? Some key accomplishments. We were able to convert more than 75% of our desktop users to the online version in just the first 18 months. For a risk-averse audience like attorneys, that's remarkable to have that high of a conversion rate over that period of time. The success with that initial effort gave us confidence to build WealthCounsel's first new, from the ground up product since its founding. We also established a technology platform that will enable us to rapidly build new products that add value to our customers' practice of law. All of this was possible for a small company like ours because MarkLogic allows us to punch above our weight, if you will. Its security features, including role-based access, encryption, its support of XML and XQuery for storing and transforming content, its ACID-compliant transactions, its multimodality, and many more features all make our development team more productive and resulted in faster time to market. So, where do we plan to go next? First, we'd like to complete our initial vision of advanced features like integrated customizations, shared customizations, visual trust design and output, and trust analytics. We'd like to continue to refine the EPML language to make it even easier for internal developers, as well as our customers, to develop complex templates. We'd like to extend our APIs and integrations to additional partners and customers and give them broader access to our data model. Most of all, we want to be able to respond quickly, within hours or days, to enhancement and feature requests from our customers. Well, that's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, you can reach me at stuart.shaline@wealthcounsel.com. Thanks again to MarkLogic for inviting WealthCounsel to make this presentation and for their support as we made this journey to the cloud. And thank you for listening.